Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm Sana MAQBOOL and you're watching Pakistan TV. Here are the top stories of the hour. The first one that we're going to take a look at is what is going on in Egypt with the Gaza talks underway, and that's of course something really important in terms of whether or not this will be successful, as it seems to be the last effort forward for peace in Gaza. There is concern of course of the bombings which have not stopped by the Israeli forces in Gaza, killing many in just the past 24 hours, and also in terms of what Hamas will or will not agree to. But what everybody hopes for is an immediate ceasefire and an exchange of the prisoners across the borders. That's going to be our first story of the show today. Our next one is going to take a look at the developing bilateral relationship between Pakistan and Malaysia, with of course the Pakistani Prime Minister on a very important visit. We have seen a number of collaboration avenues that have already come out of this particular visit. Most importantly, a $200 million agreement with regards to the import of halal meat. That's going to be our focus in the second segment. Our third one is going to take a look at what is happening in France with the political chaos underway, and that's been something going on for quite some time now. But we have seen that the French Prime Minister has resigned in just 26 days of his office, just 14 hours after announcing his cabinet, and that is the fifth Prime Minister that has changed in 2 years. So what really is a step forward, and what France is going to do about this remains to be seen, and will be the topic of discussion for the show today. For talks relating to Gaza going on in Egypt, we've been joined by Dr. Ahmed MOUSTAFA, who's Director and owner of Asia Center for Studies and Translation in Egypt. Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed, for being part of the discussion today. I'd like your take on what really is the atmosphere, the expectation around these talks, because this seems to be something that everybody has eyes and prayers on in terms of a last effort of hope with regards to peace in Gaza and to help the people already suffering from genocide from quite some time now. But when we take a look at what really is going on ground, do you think that there seems to be a window of opportunity here? Dr. Ahmed, can you hear me? You'll have to unmute yourself. We're unable to hear you.
Yeah, sorry. I was just muting myself. But now, yes, it's going on. First of all, Assalamu alaikum. Good evening to everyone to join us in this nice debate and logical debate. Yeah, as you said, it is the last hope or the last window of hope for both sides, not just for the Gaza people, but for Israel, that lost its ethical cover before the world after what happened to the members of the flotilla from the Mediterranean countries and so on. The fury against Israel and the disrespect against Israel is worldwide. It's not just from one country or from the Arab or the Muslim country, but it is from the European countries. And you know that the EU is the biggest funder for Israel and supporter for Israel. And now, the rallies and protests everywhere in Europe, even in the country that support Israel, like Germany, Austria, England, and so on. This is number one. Number two, of course, the economic problem and crisis in Europe and in America is big enough. And as you see, the resign of the Prime Minister in France, as you said in your introduction, because the economic situation is very bad. And of course, the stock market is collapsing over there in France, as well as in America. The indebtedness is more than $40 trillion US. That means more than 155,000 US dollars per capita indebtedness, which is, very devastating and the biggest in the history. Also, the governmental closure over there, or the federal closure, the midterm elections, and the Democrats or the donkeys, they are well prepared for the next round and fight with the Republicans or the elephants. Also, the highest inflation ever. They don't have the basic commodities like even eggs and things like that. America, they have also another fights, the fight with China concerning the technology and concerning, the microchips, and the latest smack from China against America concerning the soya beans, and they will replace America by Brazil and Argentina. the fight with Russia concerning Ukraine, and look to what President Putin in Valdai said from Sochi, also with Iran and other things, even from with Afghanistan, who already refused just to give them, background base one more time in order to make another chaos in Central Asia nearby the three main countries or the three main enemies, Iran and Russia and China. All of that jointly, especially for Trump and for Netanyahu, I think this is the last chance for them, because otherwise, if they continue, the taxpayers in Europe and America will never pay the money anymore to Israel just to be supported. Israel in a very scandalous situation with the other main supporters, especially the Anglo-Saxon America and Britain. As I told you, the ethical cover just fallen from Israel and so on.
Absolutely. Dr. Ahmed, the big question to ask here is the concern around whether or not Israel is going to go ahead with the deal. And this is, of course, a mistrust that exists, and rightly so, because they have backed out from deals in the past, also U.S. broker deals. And so when we take a look at how this is going to go ahead and what really is going to be the way forward, do you think that this time around Israel is going to stand by any sort of peace agreement that we achieve?
Yes, but as you know, that Israel, most of the time they are very stubborn. Most of the time they're trying to impose its viewpoint, whether it is good or not. Things like that. They are supported, as I told you, by the West, and West most of the time looking at us in a different way with the humiliation. But this time, I think Egypt and, of course, the other Islamic countries like Pakistan, like Indonesia, especially once they having such meeting with Donald Trump, they already submitted and agreed on a draft, specific draft concerning the plan for Gaza, not the one that Netanyahu and the other war criminals like Tony Blair's or his son-in-law Kushner presented him, because they amended on this. Therefore, Egypt, they agreed on the first plan, and they asked Hamas to agree on it. However, for the details, that was, as you know, the demons or the devils are in the details, because they said that there is no deal will take place and we will sponsor Hamas under one condition: immediate ceasefire in Gaza, and allowing the assistance and the aid, especially the food.
Absolutely.
And the Medicare and the other.
There hasn't been an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. We still see bombings by Israel, and so that
this
first
is a problem,
condition.
and this is,
yes.
Yeah, this is why the talks are not so easy at all, because you have a very fanatic and a very bad cabinet in Israel, represented in whether Netanyahu and the other two guys, Smotrich and Ben Gvir, who have like a very clear, vision towards not just the Palestinian, towards the greater Israel in the vision and so on. But as I told you, the UNGA, once Netanyahu came to the tribune of the UNGA, most of the people left, the whole, and it was a very scandalous and ethical falling from Israel in this time. And I think they have no, opportunity like this in the future, because we don't know if they continue, and also, the resistance will continue. I think it will be like the end of the IDF. And according to the prophecy of, Sheikh Yassin, the head of the resistance in Palestine, and as well as the martyr of the nation, Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, they have the, this, what's it called, the bad luck of the 80 years, or, the damning of the 80 years, so on. Yeah. Therefore, I think this is the last opportunity for them, and they have to yield for it. And also, don't forget that Trump is just a showy guy and very narcissist, and he wants to get Nobel Prize in peace, as he alleged before, and that is before his eyes.
Right. Right, I understand that. I also want your take, Dr. Ahmed, with reference to what Hamas is likely going to go ahead with, because we know that in principle, of course, they've agreed with major parts of this peace plan, but there have been important aspects that are still left for the negotiating table, including what the Palestinian Authority will look like and complete disarmament. Do you think that this will be a strict red line for Hamas?
Exactly, because they insisted, and of course the Muslim countries insisted in having these efficiencies from the Arab of the Palestinians in South Palestine, represented by all the factions, including Fatah, Hamas, and the others. And this is the best for them, because if they allow, according to what Netanyahu or the other guys, Tony Blair and Kushner, suggested, just to have like Arab forces inside Israel and things like that, I think it's a very bad situation, because in the future, and as you know that Israel, they have a volatile, and Netanyahu has a volatile intentions, therefore they may attack them, and that's going to make like not only a fight in between the Arab forces with Israel, but maybe with the Arab forces and with the resistance over there. And these are things that we cannot, go on, as well as the matter of the weapons of Hamas. Of course, we can deliver or we can hand the weapons or the arms of Hamas under one condition, provided that Israel also having a full guarantee that it will never fail such a ceasefire or the truce in the future, and allowing, the reconstruction over there. Because if you remember that Egypt, it was the guarantor of, the Gaza reconstruction and so on. And after the good, restoration and instructions over there in Gaza, Israel already insists to bombard all the, the infrastructure over there, as we witness every day. And these are the main points now. First, the stop the ceasefire. Second, a full guarantee that they will never come back, just in order to give, the hostages, as you said at the beginning, and just to hand, the weapons of the arms of Gaza to these, suggested efficiencies government from the factions of Palestine.
Dr. Ahmed, I understand that. But moving forward, when we talk about the essence of what the Palestinians are really looking for and their rights to determine their own future, and then, of course, ensure that they have the Palestinian state, we've seen the very clear rhetoric coming in from Netanyahu, at least saying he will never agree to a Palestinian state. And then, of course, there's a lot of considerations to make when we talk about what a Palestinian Authority will really look like and whether or not it will truly represent the will of the people. How do you think these talks are going to ensure that?
As I told you, and in my introduction, the economic or the political economic situation in Europe, in the whole West, including Europe and America, cannot allow to sustain, because now it's 2 years. Tomorrow will be the 7th of October. It's 2 years now, and more than, around 70,000 of killed people and around 250,000 of injured. And million and 0.2 displaced people from north to south and from south to middle, or so on in Gaza. Therefore, also, as you know, the people are very furious, and the resistance, they have nothing to lose. Therefore, they will continue. And a couple of days before, or each week, the resistance, especially in Hamas or in the Qassam, they are doing such like a special operations over qualitative operations over there in Gaza, and they're killing a lot of officers and soldiers from the IDF and from the settlers. And they cannot expect the attacks even from the West Bank, because also Israel trying to attack the West Bank, attack Lebanon, and so on. Therefore, the time is not in the favor of Israel, because you cannot most of the time relying on Europe, because there's no production, no economic activities in Israel. And the people of Europe and America now, they are living in a very bad economic situation. Even in America, according to the tariffs that already imposed by the United States, as well as this work or labor, permissions, most of the efficiencies leaving the country, the economic is going to fight or is going to, face some sort of cripple situation. As well as in Europe, you find what happened in France, what happened in Germany, what happened in Austria. And I have friends, especially from the experts, not just from the ordinary people. They are saying, Ahmed, the situation is very difficult. And the more we continue, the more we cannot pay even the tax, because every day they're imposing taxes and so on. And they want people already just to make a stockage or things like that. And of course, we have Russia, and Russia is making problems for Europe, and they're having the drones that is flying everywhere.
Right, these are important concerns, Dr. Ahmed, but one major concern, of course, that nobody wishes to see is when these talks fail. And God forbid that happens, but if that does, what really do you think will be the likely outcome? We've seen huge statements coming in from Mr. Trump, who's saying that all hell will break loose if these talks don't succeed, and that there will be massive bloodshed if Hamas doesn't agree. And so I want your take then as to what sort of an evolving dynamic do you see in Gaza and then the larger Middle East if these talks are unsuccessful?
No, I don't think this time, and Trump, he has nothing to make. And also, the Arab and Islamic, should you know that the outcomes of this Doha summit that took place after the attacking Doha and after attacking Qatar, it was really good because what was behind the scenes were a lot. And we witnessed what happened, this, defense cooperation between, for example, your country, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. The first time a top-level persona like Ali Larijani from Iran visited Riyadh and met with Mohammed bin Salman. And this is like, outstanding development in the relations. And also the relation between Egypt and Iran became greater. Also, what happened, Iran, they already got or ratified, the strategic cooperation with both, China and Russia. Therefore, the Arab and Islamic countries now are fully prepared, and they have like a tacit approval that they will not allow for Israel and America just to move ahead. And that was a good thing in this regard. And this is exactly what happened, especially from Badr Abdelati, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, during his meetings with Mr. Trump and the other Arab and Islamic group that was negotiating the matter of Gaza. And already the Egyptian side and the Muslim side, they are adhered to the first plan, which is like a continuation of the plan that already proposed by the ex-president Biden, without any kind of amendments, because the amendments, they are against the Palestinian cause itself. And if the place, remains from Israel volatile like this, I think there is going to be, accordingly, some rough decisions from the Arab and Islamic and the other countries, and even the European countries. And if you look at the situation of Spain, of Ireland, of Norway, and the first day, according to this French-Saudi initiative just to recognize the Palestinian state, I think the international situation is completely different, and what's happening will have, like, its impact on the floor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed Mustafa, for joining us and sharing this. Talks are, of course, underway in Gaza, and this is very, very important in what really is going to be the future. Of course, there seems to be a lot of stakes involved, a lot of hopes that come out of this particular deal way forward. But whether or not that will be the case, whether Israel will stick to it and Hamas will agree to all of the conditions as part of this plan remains to be seen. But this is what the world has its eyes on, and we hope that there is success in ending the conflict in Gaza and for peace to be achieved for the people there. Our next story is going to take a look at the very important visit of Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif to Malaysia, and that, of course, has already resulted in a great number of agreements, many of which we have seen make the headlines as well. But what really will be the key home takeaways with reference to what it is that we're going to be doing and how to enhance this relationship moving forward remains to be seen, and will be something we'll explore further, but after a short break. We're now going to be taking a look at Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's visit to Malaysia. This is something that is very integral to Pakistan in terms of the deep and historical ties between Pakistan and Malaysia, and also the kind of trade agreements that we're already seeing springing up out of this particular visit, the most important of which, of course, seems to be the $200 million deal with regards to the import of halal meat from Pakistan. There are a number of other avenues also, as pointed out by the Prime Minister, including IT and agriculture, that also garner great support in terms of what it is that Pakistan and Malaysia can do together. But it remains to be seen how exactly that will pan out. So far, the visit has deepened the ties between Pakistan and Malaysia and has also echoed the stance that Pakistan enjoys and the geopolitical awareness that people have now in the regional and international community as to what it is that the country can offer. We're going to be, of course, exploring these trade deals further and what it means and whether or not Pakistan will be able to meet the conditions, of course, that are required to take these investments and trade deals forward, and how is it that it's going to bring in more investment within the country, and how is it that we're going to be able to leverage these key alliances together with, of course, key regional players to make Pakistan a better place, not just for the country's own citizens, but also in terms of the bilateral and multilateral agreements that can help the people of not just Pakistan, but the rest of the countries as well. To explore further between how exactly this visit is going to transpire and what really is going to be the outcome, we've been joined by our guest, Chin Yi-min, who's the Director, Tan Tan Shenlock Institute of Social Studies, UTAR, Malaysia. Thank you very much for joining us and being a part of the discussion. And I'd like your part in terms of what your take is when we talk about the important historic ties between Pakistan and Malaysia. Of course, there's a lot of discussion as to where it is that we're going to be moving around and what really is going to be the discussion forward. And I want your take when we take a look at this particular discussion. There is a way forward that Pakistan, of course, sees in terms of enhancing trade opportunities in IT, in agriculture and other areas. But where do you see the Malaysian perspective as to what areas do you think are most important for the people and the government of Malaysia?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So thank you for having me. The way I see the relation between Malaysia and Pakistan, it looks like the visit by your Prime Minister to my country, so is going to deliver a very good result. So as we know, as of now, so 6 MOUs have been signed, right? And the MOUs covered different areas, right? So from the economy right up to the education. So the way I see it is there are good prospects, right, for us to develop further, right? And as we know, the relation between both countries had been strong, and now the way I see it, it will be much stronger.
Absolutely. When we take a look at the very important agreement that both countries have agreed upon with reference to the $200 million in terms of import of halal meat from Pakistan, how exactly do you see the way that there will be challenges in actually achieving that, especially when we talk about the regulations or the requirements that Malaysia has to ensure that that goes forward?
Yeah, so I think we are trying to work out to smoothen the trade relation, particularly like what we have seen today is the agreement, right, for Malaysia to take in 200 million worth of beef, halal beef to Malaysia. So there will be ways of how we will work out matters, particularly on the halal certification. And one of the MOUs that we have signed today, and both countries have signed today, is the recognition, right? The mutual recognition of the halal certification, halal certificates that are much needed to guarantee the food is suitable for consumption, particularly for the Muslim community. So I see this as a way, a good progress in how we can improve bilateral trade, which is now, I think, is not mistaken, it is reaching ringgit Malaysia in Malaysia currency 8 to 9 billion, right? Ringgit Malaysia in Malaysia currency.
Right. When we also take a look at where this discussion is moving forward in terms of the key regional developments, how do you see this partnership also leveraging, both the countries leveraging this partnership for the mutual goals of these countries, and then, of course, transpiring into larger aims within the region and the international community?
Yeah, so I think both countries have managed to develop common views on international issues, particularly on the issue of Palestine that we have been seeing today. gradually this issue has received a lot of attention from world leaders, and both leaders, Pakistan as well as Malaysian leaders, we have agreed to work together to ensure Palestinians they are well taken care of, and that means they are grounds, common grounds for both countries to see each other eye to eye, and that will be uh, that will also mean that we have a great future, great areas for us to work further deeper in the future.
There's also, of course, the evolving dynamic when we talk about the age of AI and what that brings in to how the different ways that not just the tech industry works, but also in terms of its applications to all the other sectors as well. How do you think both countries can also enable tech transfer and the capacity building of its people in order to ensure that we are able to achieve a lot of the local solutions that the countries can develop?
Yeah, so as all of us know, AI is now one of the, is the defining technology of the world today. So both countries have realized this, and the visits by Prime Minister, the Pakistani Prime Minister had come to an outcome which is actually benefiting the relation between both countries, as we all know today too, that there's a MOU signed between both countries, to look into areas of how we can collaborate in terms of technology transfer, in terms of learning and technology together through our higher education institutions. So beyond these collaborations on AI technology, we have also agreed to work together on enhancing our knowledge in areas such as semiconductor as well as STEM education. STEM education stands for science and technology education. So all these are good indicators that shows that we agreed to work together as partners in developing a better future.
Right. Mr. Chin, when we talk about how we want to expand this bilateral relationship forward, I want your understanding of what is the sentiment like with the people of Malaysia for Pakistan in terms of the opportunities that exist for people to people and business to business contacts as well. The governments, of course, are there and they're talking to each other, and it's very, very important. But what about the private sector and what about the people exchanges?
Yeah, I think the Malaysians will definitely welcome investments from Pakistan, as well as our investors would like to explore opportunities to work further, to collaborate with our Pakistanis partners, to develop industries together, particularly in the areas such as our palm oil industry. And of course, there are other areas, tourism is one of the areas that we can look into, which I think there are multiple opportunities that both investors, B2B, business to business organizations, can look into further.
Right. Mr. Chin, there's also, of course, a lot of concern in terms of how we're going to move forward with things that concern both the Muslim countries as well. And there's, of course, the issues of Islamophobia that have emerged in the past as well. We've seen hate crimes spring up again just recently in the UK also. We have seen that happen. And so this is a common fight too. But in terms of expressing that forward and making sure that the entire international community understands that and we're able to take tangible steps forward against it, what measures do you think both countries can take in terms of cooperating and preventing these acts?
Yeah, I think both countries are good examples of the so-called moderate Islam movement. So Malaysia, during our fifth Prime Minister administration, so he introduced the Islam Hadari concept. It is now still quite an important concept to be preserved, right? In my country, and I believe Pakistan is also a good examples of how we can project Islam as a religion of peace, a religion of that is should be respected by peoples from um, uh, different backgrounds. The more we uh, look into such perspective, right? And the more we develop ways, right, to promote um, a better understanding of Islam, right? So there, I think both countries will play a great role in reducing Islamophobia.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chin Yi-moon, for joining us and sharing your views. There's, of course, a lot that remains to be seen in terms of what Pakistan and Malaysia can achieve. This visit is something very, very important to Pakistan and has resulted in great agreements. But as Mr. Moon was saying, there is a lot left in terms of cooperation, particularly in the fields of IT, agriculture, and AI. And so it remains to be seen how Pakistan and Malaysia will leverage their key positions and their bilateral relationship forward for mutual goals. Next, we're going to be taking a look at French politics that seems to be in total chaos. The fifth prime minister changing in 2 years and in just 26 days, 14 hours after he announced his cabinet. And so there's a lot going on for the French president and for the people of the country as well as to how is it that the country is going to move forward. There seems to be limited options available now for Mr. Macron, and it remains to be seen which one he will opt for. And we'll talk about this more, but after a short break. We're going to be taking a look at what is happening in France with the Macron loyalist Prime Minister resigning just 26 days in office and just 14 hours after announcing his cabinet. And this seems to bring French politics into further turmoil, something that the French president has been dealing with for quite some time now. What really is the future for France? For that, we've been joined by Mr. Charles Muskie, who's network editor at EURACTIV, and he's going to be speaking to us at length about where is this going and what really are the options left for the French president. Thank you very much, Mr. Charles, for joining us and being part of debate. I'd like your take in terms of how you see these developments and what they represent in terms of where is it that the French president is now taking the country. There seems to be a lot of criticism, a lot of discussions around whether or not he should step down. It seems to be an option available for the French president, but is it one that he will take?
Hello, good evening. Thank you very much for having me. It is very unlikely that he resigns, he steps down. He's vowed to serve out his mandate until 2027, which leaves him quite cornered between prolonged instability and risky reforms. But other paths are available to Macron himself right now, yes.
There's also, of course, a lot of concern in terms of whether or not he will be calling for new elections, because it's not just, of course, what really is with regards to the budget and the spending bill, but also in terms of what the people want. And there seems to be something that the French president had been dealing for quite some time now, particularly when we talk about how previously also in the snap elections that he called, there was a hung parliament. So will that be a right way forward for the people? It seems to be the logical answer, but will that help in terms of the kind of parliament that France would see?
It would not necessarily help with the instability. Macron has the right to dissolve the National Assembly, as he did in 2024. However, according to the latest polls, his central bloc, that goes from the center right to center left, would most likely collapse if he were to call for snap elections, leaving the way for the far right and the far left to both make important gains in the National Assembly, which would solve nothing in terms of adopting a budget, which is just going back to the situation where we are currently right now.
But will that at least help in terms of representing the will of the people? What is it that the people want?
There is a strong call for elections, indeed, both from the right and the left, and this could be indeed the right solution to consult the French people if it is what Macron chooses to do.
Right. There's also the option of choosing another prime minister. Is that an option for the French president?
It is actually the most realistic path forward, the most realistic option for the French president. It would be most likely a technocrat or a figure from outside the traditional political blocs, but this is a move that Macron already went for a few years ago when he named Prime Minister Castex. Now he runs out of candidates, and whoever happens to be France's next prime minister, he would have to put together a minority government capable of passing a slimmed down budget. All of this would, in any case, involve fragile negotiations with the opposition parties like the Socialists or even concessions to the far right, if he wants to avoid an outright cohabitation situation where Macron would have to name a prime minister coming from a rival bloc.
Right, and I'm glad you pointed out the kind of challenges that this poses to Macron, because it seems that the prime minister who just left office was considered a very deep loyalist. And so when we take a look at the options that the French president has, then will that really solve his problem, or what value addition will that happen? Because we've seen 5 prime ministers changing in 2 years. Will that just be another one?
That could be. That's the problem. Nominating a prime minister that would be from his own party or from a loyalist, as you just say, could just further continue the gridlock, leading for the opposition to call for Macron's resignation, potentially even leading to an impeachment motion, which is currently not the case. But I'm not sure that this would change the situation as it is right now.
All right. There's also, of course, not just problems of governance. There's also problems of economy. And we've seen that the national debt of France is now 114% of its GDP. That's the 3rd highest in the Eurozone alone after Greece and Italy. And so I want your take then in terms of how exactly will the public deal with this kind of economic pressure?
Well, the markets have reacted quite sharply, with the CAC 40 index dropping over 2%, which is its steepest fall in month. We also had the euro falling more than half a cent over against the dollar. So what's most likely to happen is that the political instability will exacerbate France's economic crisis. It's going to delay the critical austerity measures that are needed to curb the deficit that you were talking about, or the debt of more than 3.4 trillion euros that France currently have. In any case, all of this is eroding the investor confidence and raising the risk of yet another credit rating downgrade that France already received last month from Fitch Ratings, passing its note from AA- to A+.
Right. Thank you very much, Charles Muskie, for joining us and sharing your views.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
We're now going to be taking a look at what is happening with reference to, of course, where France is going. This is important also not just in terms of what is happening now, but the evolving dynamic. This is not the first time it's happening. It may not be the last, but it seems that there is a lot of question which is being raised in terms of where Macron is going to take, and he seems to be adamant of completing his term till 2027. Here's the crux of the debate today. We took a look at what is happening in Egypt. The Gaza talks continue. There seems to be a lot of hope and expectation out of these talks, but it remains to be seen whether or not Israel will follow through and whether or not Hamas will be able to chalk out all of the aspects of this 20-point peace plan. Regardless, this seems to be the only way out and the last window of opportunity for the people of Gaza. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, of course, is on a very important visit, and this is a very integral relationship that Pakistan has with Malaysia. We've seen the fruits of it already in terms of the trade deals coming through, but there is a lot more potential that can be achieved. French politics are going through chaos and turmoil, and this, of course, is concerning not just for the French president, but the people of the country who are suffering, not just politically, but also economically, and adds a lot of pressure as to who is it that's now going to sit on the top. There are 3 options for Macron: changing the prime minister once again, calling for new elections, or stepping down. Which one he opts for remains to be seen. That's all that we have from the debate today. We'll now see you tomorrow.